Section A.2 Docker. The Open Container Initiative, OCI, a Linux Foundation project, defines industry standards for working with containers, opencontainers.org. In particular, the OCI image specification defines how to build container images. The OCI runtime specification defines how to run those container images, and the OCI distribution specification defines how to distribute them. The tool we use throughout the book to work with containers is Docker, which is compliant with the OCI specifications. On the Docker website, www.docker.com, you can find instructions for setting up Docker in your local environment. I'll be using the latest versions available at the time of writing, Docker 20.10 and Docker Desktop 4.11. On Linux, you can install the Docker open source platform directly. It's also known as Docker Community Edition, Docker CE. On macOS and Windows, you have the option to use Docker Desktop, a commercial product built on top of Docker that makes it possible to run Linux containers from those operating systems. At the time of writing, Docker Desktop is free for personal use, education, non-commercial open source projects, and small businesses. Please read the Docker subscription service agreement carefully before installing the software, and make sure you are compliant with it. See this link. Docker Desktop provides support for both ARM64 and AMD64 architectures, meaning that you can run all the examples in this book on the new Apple computers with Apple Silicon processors. If you work on Windows, Docker Desktop provides two types of setup, Hyper-V or WSL2. I recommend you choose the latter, since it offers better performance and it's more stable. Docker comes pre-configured to download OCI images from Docker Hub, a container registry hosting images for many popular open source projects like Ubuntu, PostgreSQL, and Redis. It's free to use, but it's subjected to strict rate-limiting policies if you use it anonymously. Therefore, I recommend you create a free account on the Docker website, www.docker.com. After creating an account, open a terminal window and authenticate with Docker Hub. Make sure your Docker engine is running. Since it's the default container registry, you don't need to specify its URL.
See this code?
When asked, insert your username and password. Using the Docker CLI, you can now interact with Docker Hub to download images, pull, or upload your own, push. For example, try pulling the official Ubuntu image from Docker Hub.
See this code?
Throughout the book, you'll learn more about using Docker. Until then, if you would like to experiment with containers, I'll leave you a list of useful commands for controlling the container lifecycle, Table A.1.
Table A.1, Useful Docker CLI commands for managing images and containers.
All the containers we build throughout the book are OCI compliant and will work with any other OCI container runtime, such as Podman, podman.io. Should you decide to use a platform other than Docker, be aware that some tools we use for local development and integration testing might require additional configuration to work correctly.